I'll update again soon. The situation had become so absurd that I genuinely couldn't stop laughing. After more yelling from my father and a bit of silence on my end, I finally decided to tell him the truth. All of it. I told him I had graduated over a year ago on a scholarship. I told him that the money he'd been sending thinking it was paying my tuition had actually been very helpful. And then I dropped the real bomb. I told him I now had a 6-figure salary. That I was making more than him. At first, he asked if I was joking. I could hear the disbelief in his voice. Then the disappointment set in because he realized I wasn't lying. I wasn't the struggling student he thought I was. I was independent. Successful. Living a life he had no control over. That realization broke something in him. He exploded. He accused me of betraying the family by keeping them in the dark. He went on and on about how much he had done for me. I honestly don't know what he meant by that, ignoring me for years while worshipping my brother, maybe. Then came the most ridiculous demand of all. He said the only way he could forgive me was if I attended Roman's wedding and made sure there was no scandal or gossip about the family. Even then, even after everything, it was still about appearances. I told him I didn't need his forgiveness. And I absolutely wasn't interested in pretending we were some happy, loving family for show. I said there was no way in hell I was attending the wedding of the man who made my childhood miserable. I also told him I was done. Done with the drama. Done with the manipulation. Done with all of them. He was stunned. But for the first time in my life, I didn't stay quiet. I told him I didn't want any of them contacting me again. That they could attend their golden son's wedding without me while I lived my life in peace. He tried one last time to emotionally corner me, talking about how I was his child, how family comes first, how I had to be there. That's when I told him the truth he never wanted to hear. I told him he already had only one son, the one he actually cared about. And he could keep it that way. Then I hung up. Blocked his number. And just like that, I officially cut off my family. It was bittersweet. I never imagined it would end this way. But I also felt something I never really felt before, relief. For the first time, my life was quiet. Calm. Man. I even started thinking that maybe one day, I could build my own family, one that didn't feel like a battlefield. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. About a month later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was my mother. She was sobbing uncontrollably. I had blocked all of them, so I assumed something terrible had happened and stayed on the line. It wasn't what I expected. She told me she missed me. That she just wanted her child back. That she didn't care about what I or my father had done, none of it mattered. She just wanted me to come home and be part of the family again. It didn't sit right. Where was this energy when I cut them off? Why now? I told her I'd call her later and hung up. Something felt off, so I reached out to my aunt, my mother's sister. What she told me confirmed everything. Roman's wedding never happened. His perfect fiancé turned out to be a full-blown scammer. Before the wedding, she convinced Roman, my parents, and several relatives to invest all their savings into a so-called once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It was a complete hoax. She took the money and disappeared. No wedding. No fiancé. No savings. But it gets worse. According to my aunt, my father had already been struggling financially. He caused a major incident with an employee and their family, which led to serious losses for his already failing business. Desperate, my parents used their house as collateral to try to save the company. That failed too. They lost the house. They're now living in a rundown trailer or tiny apartment, whatever they could afford. That's when everything clicked. My father didn't want me at the wedding because he loved me. He wanted me there to sell an image. A perfect family. Stability. Respectability. And my mother didn't call because she missed me. She called because they needed me. I was their last option, the safety net they ignored for years. And here's the irony, my parents are now fighting non-stop with Roman. They blame him for the wedding disaster, for the lost money, for everything. The golden child they built their entire lives around ended up destroying it all. I won't lie, it felt validating. After my mother's call, I blocked her again. Did that stop them? Of course not. A few days later, they showed up at my house. I still don't know how they got my address. I suspect they harassed some old friends, but honestly, it doesn't matter. They stood at my door talking about family values. About responsibility. About how, as their older son, I was somehow responsible for them now. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I simply closed the door in their faces. And that's where things stand. They begged me to help them. They said they were completely broke and had spent their last bit of money on flights just to come see me. That honestly sucked for them, but it didn't change anything. I wasn't going to help. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. A few days later, Roman showed up at my door. He was a mess. Crying. Begging. Saying he missed having his big brother in his life. I don't know who he was talking about, because the only memories I have of him are being bullied, ignored, and treated like I didn't matter. He kept pleading anyway. He told me our parents were about to cut him off because they blamed him for everything, the wedding disaster, the money they lost, all of it. He said he didn't know what else to do. But here's the thing, none of that was my responsibility. Roman made his choices. My parents made theirs. And I made mine. I told him no. When he refused to leave and kept begging, I locked the door in his face and warned him that if any of them came back again, I'd call the police. I wasn't bluffing. Since then, I haven't heard from any of them. And honestly, I don't care. I'm done. I won't pretend this doesn't hurt. There will always be a void where a healthy family should have been. That loss is real, and I've accepted that it'll probably always be there in some form. But what I won't do anymore is sacrifice my peace just to maintain the illusion of family. Blood doesn't excuse neglect. Shared DNA doesn't justify abuse. And being related doesn't mean I owe anyone access to my love. I chose myself. And for the first time, that choice feels right. My father demanded that I attend my golden brother's wedding, threatening to cut off my tuition if I refused. What shocked everyone wasn't my response, but the fact that I calmly revealed I was already earning more than my brother ever had. To understand why this mattered, you need to know my family. What would you do if people who barely acknowledged your existence for 3 years suddenly expected you to show up, smile, and act like a loving family member for a single day? That's the position I was in. And honestly, with my family, it was nothing new. My name is Jonas, and if you haven't guessed already, my family is deeply dysfunctional if it even qualifies as a family at all. What do you call people who bring you into the world but emotionally abandon you the moment they decide someone else matters more? I could have had a happy childhood if my parents had treated both their children equally. But they didn't. From as far back as I can remember, I was background noise. My brother Roman, on the other hand, was everything. Roman was the healthier baby, the cuter one. The kind of infant that drew attention effortlessly. I was scrawny, quiet, forgettable. And for reasons I'll never understand, that difference was enough for my parents, Patrick and Maren, to decide who mattered. Within a month of Roman's birth, he became the golden child. Not because he was exceptional, he wasn't, but because he was attractive and charismatic. He became the main character. I became the extra standing quietly in the background. My parents met my basic needs, sure. But emotionally, I didn't exist. Roman grew up spoiled, praised for everything, and completely unchecked. All that attention went straight to his head. Meanwhile, I turned inward, shy, introverted, careful. Roman turned into a bully. Yes, my younger brother bullied me. He made it his mission to make my life miserable. He threw tantrums that ruined my plans, took my things whenever he felt like it, and knew my parents would always take his side. And they did. Every time. Birthdays for me were formalities. Achievements were brushed off. I existed to fill space. I'll never forget 3rd grade. I brought home a report card filled with straight A's. I was proud, genuinely proud. I thought maybe, just once, I'd get a smile or a hug. My mother glanced at it and said, "That's good," before immediately gushing over a crooked dog drawing Roman had made. That drawing went on the refrigerator. My report card went into a junk drawer, never to be mentioned again. That moment summed up my entire childhood. Roman decided where we went on vacations, what we ate, what we watched on TV. If I suggested anything, it was immediately shut down and Roman would mock me for even trying. He was king. I was invisible. So when I finally had a chance to escape, I grabbed it. I worked relentlessly through high school and earned a scholarship to a highly prestigious college, one of the best in the country. It was a dream. The kind of opportunity that changes lives. My parents refused to let me go. Their reasoning? Roman might feel jealous. They insisted I attend a local college instead, claiming it was more practical. But I knew the truth. Roman wasn't academically strong, and they didn't want me to outshine him. They didn't want the overlooked child to surpass the golden one. That was my breaking point. I told them I'd attend the local college on one condition, that I could live in the dorms. They agreed, relieved and smart, thinking they won. They had no idea I lied. I accepted the prestigious scholarship, moved states away, and enrolled without telling them. The scholarship covered most of my tuition, and the program was accelerated. I could graduate in 2 years instead of 4. Leaving that house was the best decision of my life. I thrived. I graduated early. And shortly after, I landed a 6-figure job. I've been with the company for a year now, and I'm already being considered for a promotion. Here's the irony. My father still sent me money, believing I'm a struggling student at a local college. I haven't corrected him. Is it morally perfect? Probably not. But after years of neglect, manipulation, and emotional abandonment, I consider it compensation. I've kept my distance from my family since then, occasional check-in calls, a rare visit home. That's it. And now, after years of ignoring me, my father suddenly wants me to show up, smile, and play the role of a loving son at my brother's wedding. The same brother who was always chosen over me. The same parents who never believed in me. And when they found out the truth that I didn't need them anymore, that I was successful on my own, that's when everything changed. For the most part, I only visited home during holidays, just often enough to keep them from getting suspicious. Other than that, they didn't bother me much. I always said I was busy with school, and honestly, they didn't seem to care. Why would they? They still had their golden child. If anything, my parents benefited from me being gone. They only had one child left to focus on, and that suited them just fine. And for a while, I was okay with that. Sure, it hurt sometimes that they didn't even notice I moved states away, but that sadness was outweighed by the relief of not having their toxic presence in my life anymore. Still, I won't lie, I missed the idea of family. Not my family, but the feeling of being wanted. Of having parents who genuinely cared. That feeling lingered, until 2 days ago. My father called me out of the blue and told me Roman was getting married. Then he said he wanted me to come home a few days early to help with the preparations. I was stunned. He actually said I was part of the family and that it was important everyone be there for Roman's big day. I won't lie, that hit me hard. My parents had never acknowledged me like that before. For a brief moment, I felt hopeful. Then reality set in. These were the same people who ignored me my entire childhood. The same people who didn't even realize their eldest son had moved states away. Did I really want to go back, get my hopes up, and be disappointed all over again? I was torn. I missed having a family, but the thought of being hurt again terrified me. So I sat with it for 2 days. In the end, I chose peace. I decided not to go to the wedding. Some of you might disagree with that choice, but honestly, it feels like one of the best decisions I've ever made. Spoiler alert, my parents haven't changed. They never will. After thinking it through, I texted my father and told him I wouldn't be able to make it. No long explanation. No excuses. Just I won't be coming. I expected a reaction. I did not expect the manipulation to start that fast. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up. First came my mother. She tried guilt-tripping me, asking if I really wanted to miss Roman's special day, if I wanted to be that brother, how devastated Roman would be without me there. She even pulled the classic "you only get one family" card. Here's the thing, Roman never showed up for a single important moment in my life. Not once. So no, his wedding meant nothing to me. I told my mom I wasn't coming. Period. When guilt didn't work, my father tried a different approach. He stayed calm at first, saying things like families stick together and this is what we do. When that didn't work, he went straight for threats. He told me that if I didn't attend the wedding, they would stop paying my tuition. Whoa. Because they couldn't handle people gossiping about one of their sons not being there. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about Roman. It was about appearances looking like the perfect happy family. That's when I snapped. Threatening my education just to force me to attend the wedding. That was peak selfishness. And honestly, it was laughable. I told him to go ahead and stop paying. I wasn't coming, and nothing he said would change that. What he didn't know was that I had graduated a year ago. That I lived states away. That I had a six-figure salary and a life they had absolutely no control over. I wasn't ready to tell them yet. And frankly, I was enjoying this a little too much. My father completely lost it. He called me ungrateful, said I'd always been difficult, and then announced he was going to withdraw me from the local college to teach me a lesson. He said it like it was some devastating threat. I couldn't stop laughing. So now, I waited. And sure enough, this morning, my father called again. He was furious. He demanded to know where I'd been, what I'd been doing, and where all the money he sent for my education had gone. Apparently, after our last conversation, he stormed into the local college to withdraw me. Only, they had no record of me. No enrollment. No student file. Nothing. The man really stood there trying to cancel a student who never existed. During the call, I could hear the humiliation in his voice. He demanded to know where I'd been for the last 3 years and what I'd done with all that money. And honestly, that's where I'll stop for now because things only get messy from here.